Welcome to episode 21 of How About Them Huskies. I'm Connor, and I'm joined with Andrew and Matt today. The other Matt couldn't be here, but UConn had a big win today. They have a big game coming up this week, so we're gonna go over it for you guys, even if we're undermanned here. So, like I mentioned, UConn defeated Butler today at the XL Center, 86 to 56, a 30-point win. It honestly felt like a larger victory than that. UConn just dominating Butler in every area. I mean, they out rebounded them by 26 rebounds after out rebounding them by 24 the previous game. I mean, guys who had some off games really recently kind of picked it up, like Sonogo, 17 and 14. Even Joey Calcaterra had 5 points. He saw it go through a couple of times. He also made the 1,000 point club, so congratulations to him. He's had a great career. It's not easy to get to 1,000 points. Not many people get there. And yeah, Jordan Hawkins set up, I get not really a quiet 20, but he just scores easily at will. He had a great game. Caravan, another solid effort, and Newton kind of picked it up a little bit after he was struggling a little bit. So just overall, a great team win, a much needed team win to build some morale going into the massive game coming up this week versus Xavier. We'll get to that later, but just like I said, a much needed win, and really the fans needed it too. I mean, three straight losses. Some people are falling off the ship, saying this team's done, they're overrated. So I feel like they proved some people wrong there.
Yeah, I don't care if it was that it was Butler. I don't care if it was an elementary school team. UConn needed this win no matter what. And I feel like this game against Butler at home, I believe it was a sellout. It looked sold out from the TV, but even if it wasn't, maybe a couple hundred empty seats. But either way, the fans really did need this. They needed a securing one. 86 to 56 is just it's a huge win. Butler was never in the game. I think UConn was up by like 36 at one point. I think they were up 36 towards the very end of the game, but then the Stars came in and Butler scored a couple of points. But we still won by 30. We really needed that win, and we really needed it confidence wise. You could go on and on about how Butler didn't have Manny Bates and how three of their starters played 15 or more minutes and had no points. But either way, they really needed this win no matter who it was against. And I think it's going to be perfect for that huge one, the huge clash at Campbell on Wednesday night.
One thing I want to bring up is I just think it's a little funny. We won by how many? We won by 30 points, and Andre Jackson took three shots. I'm not sure what happened. They love to say it a lot during the broadcast that he is not looking for shots, which I mean, I don't know how true that is. Obviously, you're looking for shots out there, but I mean, if we can beat up Butler by 30 points, but Andre Jackson taking three shots and getting four rebounds, then I don't know. I feel pretty confident going forward in the guys. Seemed like we came back to reality here a little bit, especially after losing five of the last six. It was good to see, especially the bounce backs from certain guys, Caravan, Newton, even Sonogo. We'll say he bounced back. It was just good to see and a big confidence booster, definitely.
Yeah, Andre, I mean, he had that game on New Year's Eve against Xavier. He took 12 threes. Since then, he hasn't taken more than three in a game. And in our last three versus the Johnnies, Seton Hall, and today versus Butler combined, he's only taken one three. It was that step back he hit against Seton Hall. So he's really kind of going off of the shooting and doing more of the other stuff, which he's good at. I guess he's good at, I'm not saying he's a bad shooter, but he's better at other things on the court. We can all agree there. So he's really heading in that direction. And also Samson Johnson, welcome back to the party. He came back after a 19-game absence. He didn't play too much. He played a little bit, but he was productive. He scored. He had a little bit, I think he was a little excited. I mean, he missed a corner three and then he missed a couple of inside shots, but he got his points. He had a couple of rebounds. It's good to see him back. This is the game you want him in there against a mediocre Butler team, I'll say. I mean, we've killed him twice, so I feel like we can call him mediocre from our standpoint. It's good to get him some run in this one, especially with the game coming up. We keep on highlighting the game coming up versus Xavier, but they have three, I'll even call it, with Jerome Hunter, dominant bigs with Fremantle and Nunji. So having the depth inside there is going to be crucial.
Yeah, this was a game where, like, obviously, he looked a little rusty. He's been out for, what, 18, 19 games now since that first one. It's not really a game where you really want to see him, like, dominate. You just wanted to get him back into the swing of basketball. And, it's different in practice playing against your own teammates, but this was a perfect game, where Butler's still going to compete, but nobody's out there trying to kill him. So he got the action that he needed, but I think that Hurley might ramp him up on and Jackson out there, just they're going to really need as many bigs as they can possibly have on Wednesday. So I think this was really the perfect game to get him in, ramp his activity up by a ton, and
Yeah, I could have sworn that three he took was going in. That thing was halfway down the cylinder and it popped right back out. So I'm really excited to see how well he stretches the floor, and that'll be really valuable for us going forward.
And also another little fun fact here. This was the first game we had every player healthy, and it was also everyone got in. 16 different people played today. That's impressive. I mean, I don't know the last time UConn, if they've even ever had 16 players rostered, let alone played in the same game. It's good to see guys like Hurley and Andre Johnson, Emmett Hendry, even Hassoun and Rumaglu to get in the game. I mean, I'm sure they worked so hard in practice against these guys, making them better. So just really cool to see. And also, Hassan Diarra had a very efficient game. He went 3 for 3 from the field, hit a three as soon as he came in, really just knocked it down. And there was that inbounds play. I don't know if you guys remember. It was underneath. It was just a pass to Joey, and he quickly gave it right back to Diarra for the layup. That's cool to see. We haven't really seen a play like that from UConn. I mean, I've seen it other places, but usually we run a play where we get it to the big man and they pass to the guard and we just start the offense. So it's cool to see that. And like I said, Diarra, 8 points. Aline, he didn't really do too much. I guess he had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and he scored 2 points. But he, I said he was my player to watch for this Butler game. Obviously, he didn't replicate his 3 triple performance that he had in December. But all in all, just a great team win.
yeah, Hassan Diarra is looking better by the game, honestly, in every aspect of it. I'll say besides dunking. And I feel like that's a fair assessment there for him, but he's really looked so much better. People were saying at the beginning of the season, oh, this guy's just going to be in there for defense. He's really not going to do anything on offense. We're starting to trust him more and more every single game on offense because he's really coming through. I mean, he's showing that he can hit the threes when he's open, take layups down low when as small as he is, and he's just really started to look a lot better than I think a lot of people expected for this team, which has really been one of our bright spots.
Another guy who we probably didn't expect too much coming into the year, Alex Caravan. This is his out of his last 4 games. This is the third time he's gotten 15 points and 5 rebounds. He's really stepped it up, especially after he had a couple of dud performances defensively against the guys like Hopkins and Kaluma, and offensively, even in that Creighton game, he just scored 2 points and only took 3 shots. So he's really stepped it up recently. He's I'm not going to say people were against him, but he's a freshman starting. He still played his 30 minutes, I believe, today, which I know some of us really don't want him playing that often, but maybe with Sampson coming back, those will go down. But he's producing, so maybe they won't go down. I mean, he's really been a surprise to this team all year, and it showed today.
Yeah, Carabin was my player to watch coming into this one. I think I guessed him to score exactly 15 points, which was the crazy thing. I just wanted to throw that out there. With him, a lot of it just really comes down to being consistent on the three. I mean, if he's consistently knocking those down, I mean, it's a big part of his game, especially when he can't, make it up on the other end most of the time. He is a freshman, he's frail, and stuff like that's bound to happen. But you learn, you hit the weight room, you grow, and that's why I assume maybe one day he'll be ready to go. I think he'll be a professional player one day. I'm not saying he'll be in the NBA, but maybe overseas or something. And one more thing about the minutes. I don't remember what game it was, but he played 37 minutes. I think it was St. John's. If you noticed, he got 30 minutes here, and Sampson got 7. So, I mean, I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. Maybe just the conspiracy of the.
Yeah, I'm sure Sampson, his minutes will go up as he's coming back, but that's really cool to see the direct math there. There's really not too much more to say. It was just a dominant win for UConn. I mean, Butler, they were missing Manny Bates inside, who he was their best player when we played in Indy. He was matched up with Tanogo then. He was missing. They were really, I mean, they're a guard heavy team and their guards didn't make shots, and we got really lucky in that department. So I think that's pretty much all we got from the Butler game. Andrew, I know you were at an event on Saturday. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had the privilege to see Brewster Academy against Worcester Academy at the Garden on Saturday night. And there were 4 Big East represents, 2 from each side. Brewster had brother of Matt's favorite Husky, Caroline Ducharme. That was Reed Ducharme, who's committed to Xavier. He's a good shooter, had a little bit of a rough game. He's 6'6", so he's really just a more outside guy, kind of Caravan-esque, but he had a decent game. And then Brewster also had Solo Ball, who is you guys got to get excited for this kid. I mean, he's 6'3". He's dunking from a standing start. I think he cut to the basket and got a pass from, I think it was JP Estrella, and he's dunked from a standing start. He's a good hard-nosed defender, decent shooter, but he's going to be really, really good for us. And I think he's a name that went a little under the weather. With Stefan Castle being at that position, it's like, oh, great, we got another guard, but this kid's going to be really good for us. But on the other side of the court, Worcester Academy had Kayvon Mulready, who we did mention a couple episodes ago because he had UConn in his top four, ultimately chose Providence, but he's going to be someone who really goes to battle every single night. He reminds me of a Tyrese Martin-esque player. He's not going to show you 25 a game, but he's a good hard player. He's going to play hard no matter what, no matter what the circumstances are. He's a good player. Little things get to his head a little bit. Like Solo really got to him. I think in the end of that game, he was starting to take stupid threes and airball them. But he's a high school kid. He's 24, just a junior, so he's got plenty to learn. But watch out for that kid for Providence. And then Trey Norman, who is committed to Marquette to play next year, he's going to be really good. I mean, he had a great game. He's a great ball handler, great shooter, all flashy dunks and stuff. But the Big East is in good hands. I got to watch four really good players who are they're gonna go to battle in this conference night in, night out in the next couple of years. So I'm really excited for that. I'm happy I got a preview of it.
Yeah, those four players you mentioned, they're all on four different teams, and arguably, at least this year, the top four teams in the conference, all four that are in the top 25. So it's cool to see those top schools reloading. And I'm also really excited for Solo Ball. I mean, I feel like Stefan Castle is really taking a lot of the hype, but Ball, I'm not saying just as good as a prospect, but he, like you said, 6'3" with all the dunks. I mean, pretty much a smaller Andre Jackson. Another guy, I haven't seen too much of his game, but Jalen Stewart's the guy I feel like is getting underrated as well. I mean, he's out in Seattle, so maybe that's a reason we're not seeing too much from him, but I'm really excited for him as well. I feel like he's a wild card that could really maybe even start from day one if he's good enough.
Yeah, I even got the chance to talk to Solo a bit about, how the process went and stuff like that. And this kid is really excited to put on a Husky uniform. Obviously, playing at the Garden as a high school senior is it's pretty cool, but he said he can't wait to be a Husky playing in front of all these great UConn fans. And he's a great kid. So I really can't wait for him to be on this team with the other four and then the current guys who decide to stay.
All right, and I don't know where you got your tickets for that game. I don't know if you got it through Brewster or through the other school. I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess you got it through SeatGeek. And if you use SeatGeek and you use code HBTH at checkout, you get $20 off your first order. It's really a good deal. I mean, UConn, big game for Xavier coming up. Tickets are up there. It's probably going to be maybe not a top 15 matchup anymore. We might fall down a little bit, but it's going to be a top 20, definitely top 25 matchup at Gamble Pavilion on Wednesday. So if you want to be there, use code HBTH at SeatGeek and you can save $20 off your ticket. I mean, tickets are going for around maybe $100 or so on SeatGeek. That's $80. I mean, it's a 20% off. I feel like it's a great deal and it helps us out. So yeah, support the Huskies. And we'll preview that Xavier game now a little bit. Obviously, UConn fell to the Musketeers for their first loss of the season back on December 31st, 83-73. That game, UConn just couldn't get it going. They fell apart in the second half. Like it's been a common theme in all of our losses, second half struggles. Sanogo had 18 points in that one. Jackson, like I mentioned, nearly a triple-double, 14, 10, and 8. Hawkins had 11, but there was really no stars after that. No one else had more than 6 points. And for Xavier, they just were consistent with their 6 guys. They had Fremantle at 16, Nunji at 15. That was the game. If you recall, Nunji had the flu and he played through it, which we may not have agreed with. I mean, obviously we're UConn fans. We don't want him out there, and if he's sick, that's even more of a reason. Colby Jones, 16 points, Soleil Boom, 11, and Jerome Hunter at 15. So they really just they were the better team that day. I'm really excited for this one coming up. Xavier, they've looked a little more vulnerable. They fell at DePaul. They really haven't. I've checked their records or their scores. They really haven't blown anyone out in the Big East. So I feel like we can at home could take care of business. I'm not saying we will, seeing how we've lost at St. John's at home, but I think we definitely can take care of business against Xavier the second time around.
Yeah, and the first time around, it felt like everybody for them just had a good game. I mean, 5 players in double digits is a little ridiculous compared to our 3. And everyone outside of it, it's not even like they were big factors. I mean, Aline was 2 of 5. He hit 2 threes, which is a rarity nowadays. Diarra did all right with 6 points. Newton with 6, but we've seen a different Tristan Newton, I'd say, over the past few games where he's been more of a factor and he's been more apparent in these games. He's scoring more. He's running a better offense. But I mean, the simple key to the game is that you need your guys to show up on defense. We cannot allow 5 players to get into double digits. And Sule Boom, who shot 3 of 10, was almost a non-factor with 11 points. That's kind of a concern for me, but I mean, definitely we need to contain the big men. Adama has to come to play because if not, it could get ugly.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a revenge game. This happened twice last year where we lost to an opponent, happened to be both Seton Hall and Xavier, who we lost to at their place this year. And then we ended up beating both at home. Both were at Gamble. Like this, wow, similarities, huh? But, it happened with Providence. We lost first at home, and then they ducked the second one, as we all know. But I think that's where it's going to come into play is this squad already lost. And by no means do I think Xavier is a powerhouse. I mean, they've got some big guys. They're a good coach, but they're not quite a powerhouse. They got the better of us at that game, but playing in Stores is a completely different story. I think even Stores compared to the XL is a different story because of all the students and Gamble Pavilion's a lot smaller than the XL, so the noise gets built up pretty quickly. And it's a lot different than playing at home. Obviously, away games in the Big East you've seen are tough, but that's not going to be what wins us the game. We have to watch that tape from that Xavier game and see what we did wrong. But this is going to be a great game from start to finish. But I've got us taking care of the Musketeers this time.
Yeah, this is, and it's unfortunate to say, our first of 5 revenge games we get this year, and 4 of which are at home, one of which is at MSG, which is our second home. So I really like that just going for us. I mean, obviously we lost those tough road games, but we get all these teams at Gamble Pavilion, at XL Center. We get them on our turf. I mean, we've seen in the Big East, road games are very tough. We know it firsthand of UConn. Like I mentioned, DePaul beat Xavier. That was at home. Other teams are just pretty much the home team's winning like 90% of the time in this conference. So it's just, I mean, UConn, they're going to fall a little bit in the rankings, but they have an opportunity these next 3+ weeks to get right back up there. I'm not saying number 2 again, but they can easily be a top 10 team if they keep on winning like they showed today against Butler. If they can bring that same performance, I'm not saying a 30-point win, but it would be nice. But if they just keep on building up, we've seen what they can do. I think they can reach that again if they just keep on striving for it. And also in this game, this was one where Klingon barely played. He played 7 minutes, had 4 points, 2 rebounds. And that was a game you expected him to play more often against Nunji and Fremantle. So I think, especially with the resurgence he's had recently, I think he will play more than 7 minutes, even with the addition of Samson Johnson to the rotation. And that kind of leads me to our next little segment here. We do the players to watch for UConn. I'm going to go with Samson Johnson. I'm glad I can finally say that after he hasn't played since November, but he's going to be a key part of this defensive scheme for UConn against those great bigs I mentioned. And I think he's going to get more than the 7 minutes that he got versus Butler. I think we can see 12 to 15 minutes of Samson just disrupting the defensive end and just being a presence inside offensively as well. So yeah, Samson definitely my player to watch for this one.
I'm going to go with a bit of an unpopular pick here. Not a very unpopular one, but one people wouldn't probably think about. And something in my heart is telling me that there's going to be a Joey Calcaterra renaissance here in this game because this is a big game. And Calcaterra seems like one of the guys who, when he hits 1-2 shots, which he has been doing here and there, 5 points, 3.6 points, I feel like one of these games he's going to get it going. And with the crowd behind him, you know how he plays into the crowd and all that. I have a feeling that Joey Calcaterra is going to make a big splash in this game.
Well, we know that Hurley's never going to change his starting lineup. That's just how he is. It's been the same way for every single game that we've played, besides the first one because people were hurt. Actually, besides a couple because Jackson Hawkins didn't come back. But anyways, I think Diarra is going to be my guy for this one. Just because in this game, I think if somebody's struggling, they're going to go right to the bench. Hurley's not going to play with fire here. This is a game that we need to win in home in front of a for sure 10,156 fans sellout there at Gamble. So we really got to play people that are on. And, a guy like Joey, if he's on, he's going to stay in. If he's cold, he's going to come right out. That's just how this game's going to go. Joey got a lot of minutes today. I believe he got 15 and only scored like 5 points. I think he nailed that wide open three. And they got a layup. But, we're going to play people that are on in this game. And I think Diarra's going to come in and he's going to disrupt defensively. This crowd's going to get into their head, especially guys like Matt Kunkel. I think Diarra's going to really disrupt him on the defensive end and then be great on the offensive end. So he's my guy to watch for this Wednesday's game.
We all really chose reserves there. And what's interesting is I'm looking at the box score from our last matchup. 4 starters played at least 33 minutes in that one. The lone one there, Caravan, fouled out. He was in foul trouble. He only played 20 minutes. But I think the bench is going to be much more of a factor this second matchup as opposed to the first. I mean, Xavier doesn't have much of a bench either. They really only played 7 guys, arguably even 6 last time we played. I mean, Desmond Claude, the Connecticut product, played 11. This is the 7th man off the bench. So they really have their set core. But yeah, it'll be a very interesting game. I'm excited for it. I mean, I forgot to mention this earlier. We broke out the Connecticut uniforms today versus Butler. We're definitely seeing those on Wednesday versus Xavier. I mean, it's just superstitious with Hurley and the staff. We know that with the uniforms. I knew as soon as we lost the first home game, as unfortunate as it was, we would see them come out and no sooner than that. But overall, this should be a very fun matchup. Win or lose, it's going to be rocking at Gamble. I know there's supposed to be a little bit of snow in the forecast in New England, but hopefully that doesn't stop people from coming out. Hopefully it's a true sellout crowd. And yeah, it should be a great game. Hopefully UConn can continue the success they had today. And I think that'll just about do it here for episode 21. And look out for another episode between the Xavier game and the DePaul game. It's a little longer of a stretch. There's like 6 days between games. So we'll definitely get an episode out during that time. And yeah, thanks for watching.